everyone, how's it going? It is me, Jaylene, also known as Femme4. As you can see with my beautiful blue dress, I dressed up a little bit for this topic today, as dress up is one of the main key factors here. Yes everyone, the topic of sissification has arrived. Let's talk about this kink and everything that has to do with it, such as what is it, what's the difference between that and cross-dressing, why do people enjoy sissification so much, and as well, how to find like-minded people. Make sure you go follow my bonus links below to also see the question of can femmes play out sissification kinks as well. First off, what is it? The art of dressing up and being devilishly humiliated while doing it. Jeopardy answer is, what is sissification? Ding, 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 ding. Sissification, otherwise known as feminization, is a roleplay predominantly for the male-identified people who are kind of almost wanting to dress up and be wearing femme clothing, i.e. lingerie, dresses, etc., as a tool for humiliation practice by a dominant. Let's move on to the next question, which is how is it different from cross-dressing? For cross-dressing is kind of almost a little bit more of a vaguer, older term, but it's kind of almost the expression of self or disguise where one person is dressing up in clothes that are not typically associated with their gender. One thing I like to say is that cross-dressing is not someone who identifies as trans. Typically this is more a person who actually knows their gender identity, i.e. so if I'm female but I'm dressing up typically in a more masculine fashion. More and more we kind of see this term rendered as a tad medieval because we see more nowadays in the fashion industry. There's a huge merging of the idea of what is typically defined as male-identified clothing and typically defined as femme clothing. And so we kind of almost see cross-dressing as almost being depleted with this whole movement. And also with cross-dressing, this is obviously done with the act of free choice and free will. This is not something that you kind of need anything else besides you and the clothes that you want to dress up in. Sissification, on the other side of things though, need more than just you and your clothes. You need also a dom in the mix to kind of help play out the sissification part. Humiliation is the mainstay difference between cross-dressing and sissification because this is almost tapping into the pain body of judging oneself from breaking out of their typical gender roles. So while cross-dressers kind of almost have the free will of it, these sissies on the other hand are almost controlled, i.e. almost forced by the dom to do these acts and dress up in them. Now let's move on to the question, why do people like this kink? These people are not ones who typically define as trans, rather these are people, this is a chance to explore their more feminine side because everyone has access to their own feminine or masculine archetypes inside of ourselves. But this is without feeling any potential shame that, we can kind of learn through society of it being their choice in terms of being in that other role. Through the aspect of humiliation, it almost starts to place an externalization of the sort of pain or insecurities that the sissy might be carrying about their own gender and their own roles that they are needing to kind of almost forefront in the society of today. Why do we want to externalize it? Sometimes the own insecurities in our own heads make up a larger problem than being able to actually just act out the insecurity itself. With the help of the dom, a space is created for the sissy to kind of frolic their feminine nature in a space of witness. So once you kind of are, think of it, once you are witnessed and accepted, by someone else, it's a lot easier of a chance and almost a shortcut to be able to accept yourself and witness yourself in those moments as well. Another reason why it's mostly called sissification and not genderfication is because mostly in our society as a whole, we view the feminine nature as being lower level than masculine. Thanks, patriarchy. Alas, there's a lot more of a larger boiling pot for male-identified people than femmes because with us femmes, it's almost a thing that we're kind of taught in society to try and strive for. Strive for those male characteristics and those masculine characteristics. Be strong, be heady. So when we're kind of redefining the masculines into a more feminine role, there's a little bit more risk and idea of insecurity in terms of deriving towards this role that we see as a whole in society as a little less than the masculine. Make sure you go see my bonus link though, just to see how if femmes can play out this sissification, genderfication process as well. Alright, last but not least, how do we find these like-minded people? There are two ways. The first one is personal. I always highly suggest FetLife because it is the plethora for like-minded, kinky people to search for each other. I would say at a glance, just for a tip for your searching is that there's a lot more obviously sissification people just out there with this kink than dominants who are searching for that kink in particular. So I would suggest kind of first just seeking out a dom in the first place, seeking out your dominant, and then kind of during your negotiation of figuring out what both of you like, bringing up the topic of this is something that you want to try and incorporate into your playtime. Generally, since it's not a very extreme kink, like we don't see any blood or scat being in the mix here, which is can be on the hard limits for a lot of people, it can be a little bit something of more acceptance factor for the dom to kind of want to try out. Open them up to the beautiful world of dress up and humiliation. The other way you can go for it is a professional route. This is this route where, you know, if you feel like you've been kind of bogged down and tired of just trying to search for a dom and you're not finding one, and you need to scratch that itch for yourself, hire a professional dom, hire a professional dominatrix. This is typically a great way to actually kind of know already the services that they're supplying. Generally on dom's menus, they generally have the list of kinks that they are allowed and are willing to play out in their scenes with their subs. One thing is that you also know is that since they are professionals, that you have a way better idea and a lot more trust in the factor that they will be creating a very professionally accepting space for you and your kinks. So if you're really, really insecure and you kind of haven't really found a dom person in your personal life that you actually feel comfortable enough going to, I highly suggest going about and finding someone who's a little bit more non-biased and seeing a professional dom for this. And as well, pro doms know how to humiliate you. Trust me. Alright people, so now make sure you go follow my bonus links below so you can see, you know, if femmes can play out a sissification or gentrification role as well. Make sure you go find that out, and as well make sure you go like, share, subscribe to this channel because I have a plethora of more videos related to all these fun topics that I'm so excited to show you. Thank you for watching everyone. It was me, Jaylene, Fem4.